So the Democratic Alliance says it has taken note of the order issued by the Western Cape High Court postponing the matter on the ban on hairdressers and personal care services under Level 3 lockdown. The party says Cooperative Governance Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma has shown a callous disregard for the livelihoods of South Africans. DA Shadow Minister for Trade and Industry, Dean Mcpherson, joins me now via Skype. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mcpherson. Thanks indeed for your time this evening. So I understand that that matter is set to be heard now on the 22nd of June. Is that correct?
Hi, good evening, Griselda. Yes, it is. It will be heard on the 22nd of June now before a full bench of the Western Cape High Court. And that Minister Dlamini failed to file her opposing papers by this morning. So the court has instructed her now to do so by the 18th of June, and then we will proceed to a full trial before a full bench.
And exactly what are you arguing as the Democratic Alliance?
Well, Griselda, currently the personal care industry is one of very few industries that are indefinitely outlier when one considers the amount of industries and the amount of people that have been allowed to go back to work under Level 3. Under the current regulations, it is banned indefinitely. And we believe that this is in violation of Section 22 of the Constitution, which guarantees the right to every South African to freely trade and to make a living. Now, if you are banned indefinitely from doing so, it stands to reason that that is unlawful and invalid. What further complicates the issue is that the minister has, by her own admission, missed her own self-imposed deadlines, which were last Friday, to issue the regulations. Now, the regulations are silent on who is supposed to actually issue them, and in fact, it just speaks to an unidentified minister. So for every day that this continues, the situation in the personal care industry, hundreds of thousands of South Africans are being treated as criminals and unable to work and put food on the table to their families. And clearly this is just an unsustainable situation.
I think, Ms. Mcpherson, I heard much earlier on at the beginning of this lockdown that the concern was social distancing in places like hair salons. If I'm sitting at the salon and have someone doing my hair, they're in very close proximity to me, as well as if someone's doing my nails or if you're there. The social distancing or physical distancing issue is what has been of a concern.
Well, Griselda, I don't believe that you would be at any more risk of going to get your hair done as flying across the country, seated shoulder to shoulder with someone on an aeroplane, but you're allowed to do that. I don't believe that you'd be at any more risk at getting your nails done than going shopping in your local supermarket and opening the fridges and touching shelves that 100 people might have touched before you, and then doing a transaction on your card to pay for those goods. So the point is that as long as there is sufficient health protocols, which the industry has themselves put forward, and we have seen across the world, which include mask wearing, sanitizing, and keeping records of people who come in on an appointment basis, you are at no more risk of performing that duty than you are undertaking everyday things that we do currently under the lockdown.
I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying that to continue with a ban on, the personal care industry from not going ahead and to continue with its business would be irrational. So you also said that Cabinet, you want Cabinet to decide on the 17th when it meets. What are you hoping perhaps would come out of that Cabinet decision that would perhaps make you reverse taking this issue to court?
Well, Griselda, we actually tried to avoid going to court this morning when Justice Sher asked both of the parties to come together and find an agreement on the timelines going forward. We accepted that, and we were happy to do so, because then we would have a definitive date of when the industry would open. Minister Dlamini-Zuma's council strung us out until the last minute this morning when they refused to commit to any date. So it's really been a shame that we've even had to get to this point. But still, there is the opportunity for Cabinet on the 17th of June, which is next Wednesday, to pronounce on this issue to issue for the hundreds of thousands of people that work in this industry to get back to work. And if they were to do that, and we would really encourage President Ramaphosa to show leadership on this issue and to take charge of his cabinet and do so, then the matter would be moot before the court.
Mr. Mcpherson, very quickly, and just lastly, what are we looking at in terms of impact? How many people are affected in this industry? Do we have an idea?
Well, Criselda, by government's own statistics, they estimate that there are 40,000 hair salons in the country, and that's a lot of small businesses. They believe just that there's 186,000 people that are employed. So you could probably double that on the informal sector, because every community across this country has a hairdresser or a beautician working out of their garage or a spare room in their home, and a lot of them are single parents, single moms, in fact, who are just trying to make a living. So it is a huge industry. It supports a lot of people across this country, and a lot of them are, quite frankly, working class South Africans that just want to be able to earn a living like every other person, to be able to provide food for their family and keep a roof over their head. And for every day that this ban continues, they are at risk of losing everything. And that's just something that we can't afford to see.
Mr. Mcpherson, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you very much for your time. The DA Shadow Minister for Trade and Industry, Dean Mcpherson.